Darami, I say, whenever I leave the house, and on whatever thing my eyes fall on,
وسلموا تسليما حتى تنالوا جنة ونعيما صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما حتى تنالوا جنة ونعيما
Allah Ta'ala says, Wallahu yuhibbu as-sabirin. Allah Ta'ala is with the
School governing body of South Coast Madrasa.
وسلموا تسليما حتى تنالوا جنة ونعيما صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما حتى تنالوا.
بسم الله الحمد لله وصلى الله على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. So please feel free to ask questions like the brother mentioned. For the males, feel free to ask, and also for the females, feel free to ask. First of all, there is no one in the caliber of the Prophet ﷺ. And there is no one in the caliber of the Sahaba either. That generation simply doesn't exist.
How do we follow?
So there are people who may be the heirs. And what that means by heirs is they inherit part of what the Sahaba radiallahu anhum ajma'in did. As far as political leaders, politics is an open game today. So I can't really, I don't know politics to tell you who is a better political leader. As far as religious leaders, leadership in religion is based on one and two things: knowledge in the book and the sunnah, and the application thereof. That's what makes a religious scholar. I don't like to call it leader, because leader may entail sort of strata within society. Islam does not have strata. There's no one higher than other. There's no hierarchy in the deen. There is no one like Abu Bakr as-Siddiq anymore. So if we're looking for someone like that, there just doesn't exist. And Allah knows best. Yes, anything else? As far as the Khatm al-Quran for the Mayyit, there is no benefit for the deceased. Great. Is there a benefit for the reader? Yes or no? So if you read the Quran, do you benefit or not? Great. If there's no benefit for the deceased, at least you benefit by reading the Quran. So there's benefit. Good enough. Isn't that good enough? The point is not that, can I give you a text that says that there's a benefit for the deceased? No, I can't. There's no such thing. Inconclusive evidence. Can I give you an evidence that there is no benefit for the deceased? I can't. So since there is a lack of evidence for and against, reading the Quran, the least to say, is a benefit for the reader. So instead of just sitting around, please read the Quran. If that goes to the deceased, great. And if it doesn't, you benefit, also great. No. Inshallah, we hope and pray that they benefit from the Quran. If the dua is something beneficial for the deceased, then the Quran is the best form of dua. So take it from that aspect, and Allah knows best. And the reason you're concentrating is because everything else in the dunya is on your head and in your head. So you feel like you need to concentrate from the other things that are really sort of attacking your brain. Well, you need to sort of make the salah your comfort zone. So you come and it's like a cloak, you hang it on the door before you go in the office, and then you do what you need to do and come back and put the dunya. You gotta sort of make it like Sayyidina Bilal radiallahu anhu, when the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam allegedly told him, Arihna biha ya Bilal. Call for the salah, so it's our comfort zone. That's what it is. And that's a matter that you build up. It's a progress. You don't start right away and say, all right. I always say, if you can start your being present with Allah. I don't like to say concentrated. Present with Allah. If you can make yourself present with Allah for 2-3 minutes, 1 minute in the salah, that's a good step. So let's try to start with that and build up that stamina, build up the progress. And eventually you need to lose the focus, in a sense. No. Religiously, for example, we have, again, I view, for example, our Shia brothers, the Twelvers, the Zaydis, Shia, as Muslims. However, I view that we have irreconcilable creedal differences with them. Now, I don't say that they're not Muslims. I believe that they're Muslims with all rights and privileges, yet that there's irreconcilable creedal difference at this point, as unfortunate as this is. So what do we mean by pluralism? Now, I believe that that's obviously the wrong way to go. In my theological view, now, does that mean I promote that kind of understanding? No, I don't feel not only comfortable, I feel I'm off track. Does that mean that I, for example, then denigrate and slander them? No. Do I believe that they're wrong? Yes. Do I make dua against them? No. What do? I make dua for them. Now that's intra-Islamically speaking, right? There's also Mu'tazila, there's Ibadis that are, they might take that offensive, but we, Ahlul Sunnah, in a sense, call them remnants of the Khawarij of the old days, though they may not really be that way. Those are the Muslims in the Sultanate of Oman, southern Algeria, southern Libya, southern Morocco. I consider them, they're remnants of the Khawarij in the old days. The Ibadi Madhab, I consider them Muslims personally. Do I have irreconcilable differences with them? Yes, at this point, unfortunately, as again speaking from the point of Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah. I do the same thing. Do I believe that we should call for pluralism, meaning promoting that kind of thinking? No, I don't believe so, because I believe it's wrong, with all due respect. Now, that doesn't take them away from Islam, but still, I believe that the Sunnah is not necessarily followed properly in my theological view. So that's on one aspect. Now, within intra-Ahl Sunnah, so that's intra-Islamically speaking. Now, intra-Ahl Sunnah, I mean, people that claim to be Ahl Sunnah, and let's not now try to make ourselves the legal guardian of that title or that term. People who claim to be Ahl Sunnah are from the radical Salafis to the radical Sufis and everything in between. There are, at a certain level, there's actually a creedal difference. In the sense of what? In the sense of takfir, declaring kufr of someone. So, if pluralism means to say, I consider everybody who says La ilaha illallah Muhammadun Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and did not negate it in any way as Muslim. That's my own, you're asking me, so I get to answer my question. Anyone to me who says La ilaha illallah Muhammadun Rasulullah without negating it is absolutely a Muslim with all rights and privileges. That doesn't mean I have to agree with everything they say or do. So, pluralism in the sense of saying, you know what, as Muslims, at least with a bond of La ilaha illallah Muhammadun Rasulullah, that's a framework that we should have in common and work. Yes. Now, if you say about pluralism within, let's say, not the aqadi, this is an aqidah aspect of, or a faith, theological aspect of differences, and that's a bit difficult to work with, to be honest with you. If you talk about jurisprudential pluralism, that has not, I don't want to say all the time existed, but it's much more laxed. It existed. I mean, what I mean by jurisprudential pluralism is, I follow, for example, the Shafi'i madhab, largely, except few issues. Many people follow the Hanafi madhab, for example. And that's tolerated within one jama'ah, I hope. Most of the time it is. That's a form of pluralism in accepting, for example, different ways of viewing the text, a nas. And there's no problem. You have the Malikis, you have the Hanbalis, you have Zahiris, etc. And we consider them all Ahl Sunnah. So that's pluralism. Pluralism on the level of ihsan, for example. For example, the madrasa or the school of Sayyidina Abdul Qadir al-Jilani radiallahu anhu, and the school of Sayyidina Ahmad al-Rifai, and the school of Mu'in-Din Chishti, and the school of Bahauddin Naqshbandi, and the school of the Shadhilis, and the school of the Tijanis, etc. They might have different ways in their schools and in their teaching, but there's pluralism in there. They accept each other. So I think the difficult kind of pluralism, and you'll find that also, the difficult kind of pluralism would be in matters of theology, in matters of different creed. We can always work off of the platform of La ilaha illallah, Muhammadun Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But unfortunately, most people who work in these dialogues are non-experts. In other words, there's really no dialogue among the Muslim groups. There's slander, counter-slander, unfortunately. There's accusation, counter-accusation. I believe, obviously, from our point of view, that Ahl Sunnah have the strongest stance based on the Quran and the authentic Sunnah. And if there is a dialogue rather than a debate, a dialogue to seek the truth and put it out and negotiate things and talk about things without having to slander or accuse or shame or name, etc., etc., I think that the truth shall be, inshallah, evident that Ahl Sunnah are the closest to the truth, inshallah ta'ala. So pluralism, again, it's a reality more than an Islamic concept per se. Islamic concept says any Muslim on the other Muslim has the same rights and privileges, and that's where I go off. النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم في صحيح الإمام مسلم says المسلم أخو المسلم لا يحقره لا يظلمه لا يخذله. The Muslim is the brother of the Muslim, and he did not say the mu'min is the brother of a mu'min. He said the Muslim is the brother of a Muslim. And I think that's a prophetic wisdom, in the sense that if he had said the mu'min, you'd say, well, he's a Muslim, but he's not really a believer. But he made it Muslim, and the Muslim is very basic. Those who says man qala la ilaha illallah Muhammadun Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that becomes a Muslim. So there is rights and privileges. You're not supposed to really dig in the hearts. The hearts are only known to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you deal with people based on the apparent thing. So again, pluralism it's a reality challenge more than a theoretical challenge per se. If we work off of La ilaha illallah Muhammadun Rasulullah, we ought to, being different from each other, obviously, there's no harm in trying to show our differences and refute other stances, but not on the sense of slander and accusation and shaming, etc. The games usually. These things, when they happen, they usually happen because of a cult mentality rather than a deen mentality. And Allah knows best.
صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما حتى تنالوا جنة ونعيما. صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما حتى تنالوا جنة ونعيما. صلوا عليه.
To the second question, no. There isn't a verse that was recited and then removed per se. There is no such thing. النسخ التلاوة ممتنع عقلا وشرعا, textually and rationally, in impossibility. As far as the word abrogation may be actually misleading, or the word naskh itself, according to the usulis, and when we go and find the ulama of usul, how did they look at naskh or abrogation? They don't look at it as necessarily removal of an ayah, but restriction versus unrestriction. Taqyid, itlaq, takhsis, ta'mim. So some ayah comes and restricts. It doesn't necessarily abolish entirely. So that's how naskh is viewed in general. Anyway, I mean, there's lots of books on naskh and all this. In my view, there's only 4 issues that may have a leg in authentic evidence, maybe on abrogation per se, and these things can also be interpreted as, again, restricting narrowness versus openness, restriction versus the total openness, etc., or gradual approach rather than the lack thereof. That's how I understand it, and Allah knows best. It's a long topic, and maybe some other, it's an usuli, mabhath usuli, hada bahth usuli, some other time, maybe when we have more time, we'll talk about that. And to the last, no, so I've sort of negated the abrogation entirely from the second question, so Allah knows best. Remember, these narrations, do they exist? They exist. I'm not denying their existence. But the existence of narrations do not translate into authentic narrations. There are lots of things that exist there. We have a whole bunch of things that exist in our legacy or in our traditions. All kinds of books and all kinds of hocus pocus business as well. It doesn't mean that they're authentic. Just because something exists doesn't mean it's authentic, right? And since it does not meet the level of authenticity, it's disregarded. It doesn't make a difference. I mean, just by repeating false things a million times doesn't make false things true. You can repeat them all you want. So there has to be a criteria of measurement, and that's where the scholars of ulama sunnah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless them and have mercy on their souls. That's when they established the criteria to authenticate the sunnah. What is sunnah, what is not sunnah? You just can't just make up things by having them written in books. There are lots of things written in books. Makes no difference. Being written in old books, new books, makes no difference whatsoever. First of all, visiting the graveyard is for benefiting. And benefiting from remembrance. You remember that one day you will be there. One day you will be buried. That's the visiting. It's not, I don't want you to think that the person who passes away is restricted to the grave. Some people are bigger than to be contained by a small grave. Some people are as big as the world. As big as life. Don't they say that? He's bigger than life? Or some people are bigger than life. How can you contain the Sahaba radiallahu anhum in a small grave? Their glory and their greatness. So let's keep that in our mind. Anyway, most of the scholars says they fall on the impermissibility of women going to the graves. Especially obviously when it contains all these things and etc., etc., etc. The impermissible things or etc. that happens there. Like in some of the Hanafi scholars, as you probably know, they go to the permissibility of it with conditions. For example, that there is no fitna, that there is etc. and it's quick and it's just for remembrance and etc. etc. and the close relationship. So they say if that's the case, that may be permissible and Allah knows best. Now, I don't make a difference between tazkiyah and ihsan. Tazkiyah, ihsan, raqa'iq, tasawwuf, suluk is all the same thing. But you know what it is. I mean, we today fight a war about terminologies, semantics. Are you really Ahl Sunnah? Oh, no. I'm the only one who can hold that title. I mean, right? So, people think that they have legal guardianships over titles. So they fight over titles. So some people don't like the term tasawwuf or Sufism. They say we don't like that term. It's an innovated term. Okay, so if you have hypersensitivity reaction to the term Sufism, then there's no harm. Use the term tazkiyah, purification. It means the same thing. Use the term ihsan, doing good. It means the same thing, etc. The term tazkiyah and ihsan, they both came in the Quran and the Sunnah. The term tasawwuf is an innovated term. So, but remember, in Islam in general, we don't really bother with the terms, do we? They're very, very simple thing. The term fiqh as we know it, is an innovated term. The term aqidah, the word aqidah, is an innovated term. The word aqidah does not exist in the book or in the sunnah. We made it up and we use it. So if you want to say the term tasawwuf is a bid'ah, then also the term aqidah is a bid'ah. You know, if we want to measure by the same thing. The term nahwa and sarf, grammar, is also an innovated term. The term usul is also an innovated term. Lots of terms that we've made are innovated. But what we do is we look at what you mean by that term. Now, you can't hold me hostage to the term either, since it's innovated. Anyway, so we don't make the long story short, I always believe it's better to stick to terms that came in the book and the sunnah. It's clear. If you want to use a term that's innovated, make sure you're coupling that term with a standard that came in the book and the sunnah. So you say by tasawwuf, I don't mean, by Sufism, I don't mean singing qasaid and sleeping over Fajr time. Huh? هذا not tasawwuf, Mawlana. This is what? هذا جهل, to say the least. That's ignorance, to say the least. That's tasawwur, delusion, right? Like you say, oh, I already reach at the level I don't have to do salah, I don't have to do anything. Bismillah, I go to Mecca, I do my salah and come back in 5 seconds. Habibi, if Allah wants to make you an angel, He would take you from here and make you an angel on your own. As long as you're a human being, you're not better than the Prophet ﷺ. And the Prophet ﷺ prayed his 5 salawat on time in the masjid. So go ahead and do that. Follow him if you want to be successful. Now if you tell me no, tasawwuf means tazkiyah, and means ihsan, and means akhlaq, means characters, means jihad, means khidmah, servitude. Not being served, serving. Oftentimes we think that, we need to be served rather than serving. No, it's the other way around. It's servitude, right? If that's the case, then tasawwuf is good. So always try to explain that term, in my view, again. Just because we live in a world that fights over semantics. By tasawwuf, I mean ihsan. Ihsan means what? What the Prophet ﷺ said, that you worship Allah as if you're seeing Him. If you don't see Him, He sees you. That's what tasawwuf means. Done. So, you're still hypersensitive from me using the word tasawwuf. What? Too bad. I apologize. I'm sorry. I'm still going to use it. I don't insist on it, but I'm going to use it to mean what I mean with it. And because you also insist on using many words that you made up, so it makes no difference. Labels don't make a difference. Go beyond the label. Label doesn't make a difference. No. Similarly, if Salafism means that we follow the book and the Sunnah, we're all Salafis by that definition as well. If Sufism means to follow the book and the Sunnah, we're all Sufis by that definition. If Sufism means not to follow the book and the Sunnah, no one of us is Sufi. If Salafism means doesn't follow the book and the Sunnah, let's get beyond the labels here. Well, all of you are, mashallah, intelligent people, educated people, and we're not talking 300 years ago in some village in Syria, or some village in India, or some village in right? We understand these things, we read these things. People read today. Most people today are not unlettered. Most people are actually not only lettered, they're educated in one way or another. So let's go beyond these technicalities and semantics to see what does the semantic mean? What do you mean by that term? And what you mean by it, you must have evidence from the book and the authentic sunnah. Because the deen is not a joke. The deen is not a game, it's not a toy. It's just someone's toys with for social or political or financial or other positions. The deen is the deen of Allah. And the deen of Allah is 2 things. Quran, Sunnah Sahiha. That's it, done. Now, Maulana, and those of you from the Indian subcontinent originally, you understand how Maulana Mu'in Chishti came. What did he do? He served the people. He visited the sick. And not just, he visited everyone. He visited the sick, he visited the needy. He helped those he could help. And he brought them the deen with love. He made the people love him because of what he offered them. Remember the motto that he had, the slogan? Love for all, malice towards none. That's why until today they love him. Even though they still may be still Hindu, they don't believe in Islam, but they love the man. They say, you know what, this man only brought us love. He brought us good, he did not bring us any malice. That's what khidmah, Mawlana, is. Khidmah, Nabi sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam was in serving all this ummah. Why did he think Allah sent the messengers? To do what? To serve the people. So they can teach them how to do these things, they can do these things, and they earn their love and respect.
صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما حتى تنالوا جنة ونعيما صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما حتى تنالوا جنة ونعيما صلوا عليه.
I personally don't believe in spiritual polygamy. And I don't allow it. I would not give anyone that. You take that, go on your own, Sheikh. Because tasawwuf is not a fashion club. Tariqah is not a fashion club. It's not a thing for opportunism. You want to go into that school and be trained for the rest of your life? Great. You don't? Hey, there are lots of good people out there. Go and seek it. Bismillah. As long as you improve yourself, we're all happy with you. But there's no spiritual polygamy, Mawlana. I don't accept that, I don't allow it, and I won't tolerate it either. And we believe that everybody else is out there is all good. We believe everyone is good, alhamdulillah, and so bismillah, people go where they need to go. But you can't, because the point is not tabarruk, it's not barakah. The point is molding, forming, improving. You can't improve within half. If you don't get improved, many people, it takes them 10, 20, 30, 40 years until they start improving, until things click in their mind. First they get rituals, until things become from ritual to spiritual. First they think it's information, until they realize it's not information, it's actually transformation. It's actually a realization. And you can't be driving to town on 4 different roads at the same time. It's not possible. So since it's a pattern of studying, that's what it is. And also in the tariq in general, in the path of Sufiya radiallahu ta'ala anhum, there is something that's very important after Iman, is wafa, or faithfulness. In fact, if there is nothing after Iman but faithfulness, faithfulness helps, right? That's what saves people. And that's why the Munshirin always say, Maulana is next to you, he can tell you that, right? The old Sufiya used to say, Ahlul wafahum liman wafahum. They're the people of faithfulness to those who are faithful to them. That's how it works. Anything else, Maulana, it becomes a joke. You can if you're in that environment. If you're on your own. If you are in prison like Yusuf alayhi salam, there's nobody. If you're living in the mountains and there's nobody. Lakin, is it better to live on the mountains and see nobody, or is it better to live in the city and be patient on the harm of people and the problems of people, and tahammul and kaf and all these things? So the Sufiya radiallahu anhum always speak. Of course, the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ is to mingle with people and bear all the harm they gave him, and bear all the lack of adab they showed him, until he raised them up. It's one thing to be salih, Maulana, and it's another to be muslih. Salih means reformed, and it's another to be a reformer. And that's why when Al-Quran speaks about إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُهْلِكُ قَرْيَةً وَأَهْلُهَا مُصْلِحُونَ, Allah does not destroy a village and the people of the village are reformers. He did not say Allah does not destroy a village and the people of the village are reformed. Reformed is not good enough. Reformers is what's asked of you. You're not asked to be good on your own, and that's it. As long as I'm good, let the whole village burn. No, that's not the way of the Anbiya. That's not the way of the awliya. Otherwise the awliya wouldn't be here. Sayyidina Abdul Qadir Jilani wouldn't be here. Sayyidina Ahmad Rifai wouldn't be here. All these they wouldn't be there. But their way is to mingle and have also patience on people, and have patience with people, and have patience by people, and have patience to people. That's the whole point. Otherwise, what are you doing? And you want to be an angel? Well, you want to be Abdul Qadir al-Jilani overnight. It doesn't work. These things don't work like that. But who knows who's better? Who knows who's better? The word afdal. Who knows who's afdal? Anybody else? Unless Allah tells you or His Messenger tells you. Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, right? So that word afdal, better, and afdal, فعل تفضيل in the Arabic language. That is something only Allah Ta'ala knows. لكن more knowledgeable طبعا. Into how does Sayyidina al-Hafiz ibn Hajar al-Asqalani, for example, emerge? Isn't he more knowledgeable than his Shaykh? Tangible. We say more knowledgeable. We didn't say afdal. Why? Afdal, I don't know. That's not my territory. Afdal, Allah knows. More knowledgeable? No. Sayyidina Abdul Qadir al-Jilani. Do you think he's better than his Shaykh? I will say he's more knowledgeable in this ilm. He has more signs to his better. But Allah Ta'ala is the one who knows best, etc., etc. So these things are possible. Lakin only Allah Ta'ala knows the afdaliyah. As far as more knowledgeable, more what appears as far as piety, what appears as far as the ulum of tasawwuf, ihsan, ulum of fiqh, ulum of tafsir, هذا possible طبعا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala may open to the latter that which He did not open to the beginners. And vice versa. No one restricts the fadl of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's as far as more knowledge, as far as tangible things that we can judge. As far as things that are not tangible, we cannot judge. That's only Allah ta'ala. We don't go beyond what we know. If you want to study the deen, the first thing you should probably study is your aqidah, which means who Allah Ta'ala is. That's what I mean by aqidah. I understand the term aqidah may mean different things to people. Now, what I mean by aqidah means ulum al-tawheed. First, who Allah Ta'ala is, what are His attributes, what are His names, why is He worthy of worship, why nothing else is worthy of worship but Him. How do we know Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala? What is permissible to be said about Allah Ta'ala? What is impermissible to be said or to describe Allah Ta'ala with? You know how many times I go to, and sometimes unfortunately I happen to be in big conferences, and without so naming names, so it's not really bad, and the speaker is saying Allah decides. Allah's not attributed to decision making. That's an attribute of the makhluk. Decision making is an intellectual process. Or Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or Allah is above, or down, or below, or up, or all these things. Other these people lack the basics of ABC in Tawheed. Alif, Ba, Ta, Sa in Tawheed. Alright? So, first, why do you think Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam spent 13 years in Mecca and 10 years in Medina? The 13 years in Mecca more was all Tawheed. There was no Siyam. There was no Hajj. Zakah came later. Salah even came later. 13 years all he's talking to them about Allah Ta'ala. Who is Allah? Why is He worthy of worship? Why nothing else is worthy of worship but Him? What are His attributes? Because if you don't know the worshipped, what use is your worship? You don't even know who you're worshipping. You have a false understanding of who you're worshipping. You may have, not you, but some people may have created an idol in their mind and they worship that idol thinking that that idol is Allah. And there's a problem. Bismillah, alhamdulillah, طبعا we are living in Akhir al-Zaman by the authentic hadith. So when Akhir al-Zaman comes, among the signs of Akhir al-Zaman that we have a hadith in, general hadith is Al-Mahdi alayhi salam. Well, Mahdi alayhi salam is supposed to be allegedly, or not allegedly, supposed to be from the hadith that we have amongst ourselves, is from the prophetic family, from Al-Bayt Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. That's why we say alayhi salam, right? Because you also say in your salah, Allahumma salli ala Muhammadan wa ala ali Muhammad, kama sallayta ala Ibrahim, etc. Like Al-Mahdi is not better than Al-Hassan, is not better than Al-Hussein, is not better than Fatima, is not better than Ali, huh? Or etc., etc. Even despite the fact that, or despite the narration that he leads Isa alayhi salam, doesn't make him better necessarily. Sayyidina Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu led the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam in the salah at the beginning at least, you know, even for that segment that he came, and that doesn't mean Sayyidina Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu is better than the Prophet alayhi wasallam. So we are in the end of times, and of the end of times there are lots of things. Among them these things, Ad-Dabba, Isa alayhi salam, Al-Mahdi, etc. Like, the point is that you don't occupy things with you don't occupy yourself with things that have no accountability for you. Yani there's no taklif upon you with it. Please visit the mazars of the awliya, Shaykh. It's very advisable to visit the mazars of even normal people who died. Normal, I mean people who we do not believe that they are among the special awliya of Allah. If there is, you have somebody who is special awliya of Allah, please visit their grave and benefit and make dua there and benefit from that spirituality around them. Our shuyukh in the old days, when they put us in seclusion, 7 days, 40 days, they would make that seclusion next to one of the maqams of the awliya, where nobody goes. So you stay there in the khidmah of that, the spirituality, and you bond eventually. So so visit all the maqams and visit them with the niyyah of making dua to Allah there, that Allah may accept your dua because you're making it in a place that's of a slave that's beloved to Him, inshallah. That's your thinking. And if it's not, Allah will give you based on your thinking. Don't worry about that. And also, be kind to the grave and the people of the grave, and use the sunnah practices when you visit the graves. But visit the graves. It's an instruction. What if it's one of the graves of the Sahaba, or one of the graves of Ahlul Bayt, one of the graves of the Quran? Visit them and enjoy. 100%. The term walaya, when I say it, I mean the general walaya, which means al-mu'minuna kulluhum awliya'ullah. All the believers are awliya of Allah, so all of you are awliya. Like al-walaya al-khassa, I don't know. I assume from signs, I think from what I may personally experience. My personal experience, however, is not binding. It's not sharia. So, the awliya of Allah definitively are those whom Allah mentioned in the Quran, and His Messenger sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa alihi wa sallam informed us in the authentic narration. Anybody else, we think that they are awliya of Allah, we hope so, we pray so, and based on our thinking, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make that a reality. But I am very careful of, if when I say so and so is a wali of Allah, I mean, if it's not in the Quran and Sunnah, I mean my assumption and my good thinking. I don't mean that Allah gave me special knowledge to know. And even if that was the case, that knowledge of mine would not be binding to the rest. So the best thing is abd salih. We hope so. وَلَا نُزَكِّي عَلَى اللَّهِ أَحَدًا. We don't say anything that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not tell us. That's important.
صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما حتى تنالوا جنة ونعيما. صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما حتى تنالوا جنة ونعيما. صلوا عليه.
The adhkar, the best dhikr that you can have for peace of mind and calmness of the heart is Al-Quran Al-Azim. I know we want to have another thing. That, can you give me a half a line to do? Look, every day if you read only 3 ayahs, I'm not saying read 5 or read 10 or read 100, 3 ayahs of the Quran. Every day. That's the best word you have, best dhikr you have. Nothing is better than the kalam of Allah. So even those people in the tasawwuf who have their words and adhkar and ahzab and kada, if you don't have your Quranic word every day, you're fooled, huh? You understand that, I hope. Great. Maulana, there is a nice thing the Sufis said in the old days. They said, وَمَنْ تَكُنْ نَفْسُهُ بِغَيْرِ جَمَالٍ لَا يَرَى فِي الْكَوْنِ شَيْئًا جَمِيلًا. He whose self is void of beauty cannot recognize beauty. You are a mirror of what you see. You cite imperfections in others because you're filled of them. You cite beauty in others because you're reflecting your beauty. Everyone reflects their essence. You look at someone, you see your mirror, you're seeing yourself really. And that's what you cite. Now, directly no, indirectly yes. Number one, there's evidence that the Sahaba radiallahu ta'ala anhum gave bay'ah to the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam in the Quran al-Kareem. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Inna alladhina yubayi'unaka innama yubayi'una Allah. Those who give you bay'ah, ya Rasulullah, is as if they give bay'ah to Allah. That's a direct evidence. And we have another authentic hadith, and you probably know it, where Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says, Inna al-ulama'u warathatul anbiya. The people of ilm are the heirs of the Prophet. And being the heirs of the Prophet, they inherit that in a sense. Now, the bay'ah, as you see in the Sufi circles today, is simply a pledge to follow the path. It's number one, it's inherited from that concept there, from the concept that the Sahaba gave bay'ah to the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And then the scholars are heirs of the prophets, etc., etc. But it's also, it's a pledge to follow. Now, when you go and sign up here at UP, University of Pretoria, when we go fill out an application, at the end you'll have to say, I agree to abide by the codes and regulations and of the school. Otherwise, they won't inscribe you. That's the same thing. It's a school of tasawwuf. And if you don't, now the difference here is it's a matter of the heart, it's a matter of a life. So that's where the pledge came from. So by these two things, that makes a strong case for it. However, I always believe that Turuqism and Sufism are two different things. I believe everyone needs to go through Sufism, meaning what? Purification of the heart. But not everyone needs to go through a system of a school of tasawwuf, specific per se, and through that. But I believe, is it better? Obviously, I'm biased to that, simply because I belong to that system. I was educated through the system of the Sufi mashayikh and turuq, and I was raised through that. So that's, and I believe it's a stronger position, yes. The scholars sort of disagree on what's rizq. Some, they say what you actually earn, regardless. Some, they say no, what you actually use is your rizq, not even what you earn. So what does that mean? Yani, like you said, XYZ dies and he has in his bank account $1 million. Like, and he lived poor and died poor. His rizq was that. Doesn't matter how much he earned. So they say a rizq then, that which you use. That which you did not use is not your rizq, even if you acquired it. Yeah, I'll give you an example. I always give that example. You went to the butcher shop and bought some meat. Then you went to the grocery store and bought some fruits. When you're trying to buy the fruits, you put the bag of meat aside because you want to collect the fruits. All of a sudden, Maulana next to you came and started talking to you, and he, why aren't you coming to the zikr? What is happening? And you forgot all about the meat. You went home. As soon as you got home, your wife said, where is the meat? I told you to bring the meat. You say, oof, I forgot it. But meanwhile, Ahmad passed by and he saw a nice meat laying there. He took it and he had nice braai with it. And he enjoyed it. It's not meant to be your rizq. You worked hard, you bought it, you carried it, you forgot it. It was not meant to be yours in the first place. It's not your rizq. Though you labored to buy it, it's not your rizq. Madhab is, let me, if I may put it on a sort of general level, and I don't mean disrespect by that obviously, I just mean to give an example, is to learn how to drive. a car. And, you know, different cars may have different ways. And the best is to learn how to drive and go with that. If you want to learn to drive on a different way, let's not make it cars. Let's say a way to go from Lothian to Durban. There's this way you can go, there's that way you can go, there's this way. It's difficult to try to go on all 4 roads to Durban at the same time. It's impossible, actually. You sort of need to go one way to Durban, remember that way, learn it, come back, and take the other way next time, and learn that way. So the madhab itself is a tool rather than being an objective. It's a tool to make you learn how to worship, how you go to your destination. So, can you change your way? Yeah, if you want to learn the other way and do it and follow it, sure you can. There is no restriction from changing. But I mean, you know, the point is not how do I get to Durban? The point is I need to get to Durban. Make that your focus rather than the how do I get to Durban. Let's just get there. Isn't that what's important? Don't get too occupied with the micromechanics. The micromechanics are non-definitive. Had they been definitive, the A'imma themselves wouldn't have disagreed. Since they are speculative in nature or non-definitive in nature, the big scholars, A'imma before us, Abu Hanifa or Imam al-Shafi'i, those are the A'imma of Ahl-Sunnah. They themselves disagreed upon about these things. Hence, don't make it the tool rather than the objective. And it does, yes, you may change, sure. You may change, but you may not cherry pick. You may not cherry pick, saying, you know what, in this matter I'm going to do this, in the other matter I'm going to do that. Then you seek how to get out of doing anything from all the schools. And because the scholars said none of the scholars is infallible, none of the imams is infallible. Yani we Ahl-Sunnah wal-Jama'ah don't have infallible people other than the prophets. So that means that they're subject to making a mistake, subject to forgetting, subject to whatever. And if you try to pick these issues where they may have made a mistake, or they may have forgotten, or they may have judged and changed their judgment, etc., then you're really seeking to make your own deen rather than to follow the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as they understood it. No, and Allah knows best. خير إن شاء الله. الحمد لله. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. صلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما وعملا وحالا في الدين. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وآله في الأولين وصل على سيدنا محمد وآله في الآخرين وصل على سيدنا محمد وآله في الملأ الأعلى إلى يوم الدين. اغفر اللهم لنا ولآبائنا ومشايخنا ومن له حق علينا. Ya Rabbi, everyone, male, female, child who came to this majlis tonight, Ya Allah, forgive them, forgive their parents, forgive their children, forgive their loved ones. Grant them success in this dunya, grant them success all in the akhirah, grant them success in the barzakh. Assemble them with your messenger, sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam, in the dunya, in the barzakh, and in the akhirah. Clean and cleanse their heart, purify their souls, and make them among those slaves who are close to you. Fulfill their needs and grant all their wishes, Ya Allah, if they are the best. And if they are not, give them tawfiq to ask you for the best. Those who need healing, Ya Allah, grant them all the healing. Those who have illnesses, Ya Allah, cure their illnesses. Ya Allah, those who have needs, grant them all their needs. Those students who have exams to pass, give them the tawfiq to study hard so they can pass the exams. Those of them who are lazy, Ya Allah, empower them to be hardworking. Those of them who are lacking success, Ya Allah, grant them success. Those of them who don't know the way to you, guide them to the way to you. Allahumma اغفر لنا ولهم وإيانا وارحمنا وإياهم اجمعنا على محبتك ومحبة نبيك صلى الله تعالى عليه وعلى آله وأزواجه وسلم. اغفر اللهم لنا ولمشايخنا ولمن له حق علينا. وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وآله. الحمد لله رب العالمين.
صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما حتى تنالوا جنة ونعيما. صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما حتى تنالوا جنة ونعيما صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما حتى تنالوا جنة ونعيما صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما حتى تنالوا جنة ونعيما صلوا عليه